It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud. To rep your city, New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for them hard fouls.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the No Blood, No Foul podcast. It's Jim. We're finally reunited with Coke, Moo, and Kyle. Unfortunately, Slice is not with us right now, but we have some draft stuff to talk about. Tomorrow evening is the NBA draft. It'll be on ESPN and ABC. I believe, 8 o'clock, 8:30? Probably 8 o'clock. The Knicks have the 19th and 21st picks, as well as the 32nd and 50-something. A pick that doesn't matter. We're not going to bother remembering that one because we're not going to talk about anybody at the end of the second round. So a lot of big news has been coming out in the last few days. We've seen that the Knicks seem to be frantic, trying to reach out to everybody in the late lottery to trade up. They seem to have fallen in love with a middle-aged man known as Chris Duarte. And I'm really just kidding because he's going to be 24 when he plays, and I'm 32, so it's like I'm way older than him. So the only thing weird is he might be a little bit older than Obi Toppin.
Actually, I think he definitely is older.
He's already 1 year older than Obi Toppin.
So yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? So I figured let's talk about him first because he's obviously the one that has been spoken to and connected to us the most, and every single rumor says that we're like willing to give up everything to go get him. Coke, why don't you tell me a little bit about him? Let's go.
Well, Chris Duarte, this is a player that I like. First off, I know everyone's going to get on him about the age, but in this instance, taking a wing, a guy who's ready to plug and play, he has the strap, he can shoot from long distance, doesn't make any mistakes, can take you off the dribble, can play without the ball, he can shoot off of movement. I just like everything about his game. I think at this point, Tibbs wants a guy who, is mature, can step right in and contribute. This guy's a leader. He led that Oregon team. And I think he's a nice fit. A guy who doesn't make mistakes, doesn't need to do too much to contribute. Like I said, he can catch and shoot, run them off screens, play on the ball, off the ball, drive, score, just everything that we need. So, the age doesn't really scare me off, primarily because, hey, let's remember, Obi Toppin, we know he was an older pick, a late bloomer, but he had Julius Randle in front of him. So he didn't really get a lot of reps to, really do what he needed to do. He was kind of getting quick hooked anytime there was a quick mistake. I don't think that's the case with Duarte. I don't really see too many other wings on our squad that would be a huge block that he can't get minutes behind. We know RJ's there, but RJ can't play 40 minutes a game again. So this is a pick I'm not too down on, as long as we don't give up too much to trade up. And if we can stay and sit in our pocket at either 19 and 21 and still get him, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, Moo, go for it, Moo.
I agree with Coke. I know a lot of people are looking at the age and memory of Obi still fresh in their heads, and it's immediate turnoff. But age ultimately doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we're probably not talking about someone that's gonna you're gonna be building around per se, right? You're looking for somebody that can come in and do some things, has talent, specific to what the Knicks need. And that can contribute right away, right? There's a cost factor to it, right? So if he comes in and he can shoot, and we know he can shoot, right? He's a competitor. He plays big in big games. He, like Coke said, doesn't make mistakes. He's just a solid all-around player, right? With the type of personality, I think a lot of it, Obi is old, but he's, to me, it wasn't the age that was the problem. It was his demeanor and personality. Right, the whole deer in the headlights thing. I don't see that with Duarte. I think Duarte comes in ready to go. I think he's a very competitive guy. He's not the most athletic player, but you don't really need to be. We're seeing a lot of guys right now that produces high level role players, and almost like borderline stars that are just not physically ultra athletic, but they do it a combination of talent, feel, and just physicality. I think that's what I like about Duarte. He's got all of those things. I don't really care about the age. 'Cause if we could get 4, 5, 6 years out of him, he's still 30. That's fine, right? We're not talking about stars. I think part of the problem is a lot of fans go into drafts imagining, wherever we're going to draft, no matter where we're drafting, he's got to be some sort of a star, right? That's just not the reality of it. Reality of it is the Knicks are picking where they are. Even if they trade up, this is a 5 or 6 player draft. So I think for them to pick up Duarte, if they give up the 19th, 21st, right? Those are the picks. To move up and get him. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be upset. It's not something I'm going to run, through the outdoors screaming, hooray. But I think it would be a solid move. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Will he make it all the way to 19? I don't think so. So I think if they want him, they're gonna have to trade up for him.
So can I just ask real quick, because this is my issue with these. It's not the ceiling. I think it's perfectly fine for us to go at 1921, get a role player, someone who can shoot, all that. It's not the ceiling that concerns me with him. It's that because he's already 24. Right. Is he just that much? Does he just look that much better because he's playing against 19, 20-year-olds? It's like we kind of saw that with Obi too. It's like I made this joke. This is exaggerating, but Obi looks like Amari Stoudemire in college. Comes to the pros, looks like Stromile Swift. But that's my main concern with the age thing is less the ceiling and more does he just look better because he's older, and when he gets to the pros he won't even look like a good role player.
Yeah, I mean that's
I think that I think that's all. I think that's all really fair. Because also too, it's like because he's so much older, you don't necessarily want to give him that like time to like kind of adjust. Where it's like you could tell early in the year that the game was moving way too fast for him, and that's 22, and like if Duarte is 24 and you're like, you miss out on half a season of him being able to contribute, that's kind of a waste because he's even 2 years older than Obi. But on the good side with him, I do have a fun fact stat, which is usually Kyle's job, but he shot 40% from 3 off the dribble too, which we saw how desperate we were for a little off the dribble creation in the playoffs.
Right.
Another thing I like about him, this guy, don't forget, he's a Dominican player, and the New York market, with Washington Heights and the large Dominican population, I could see this guy becoming a fan favorite. Yeah. We know the Garden crowd would get behind him, and that kind of gives players confidence. You know what I mean? So I think it's pretty much the perfect atmosphere for him to succeed in. We got a squad with good leadership coming off a winning season, good coaching staff, and on top of that, a front office that seems to believe in him already. And I do want to add in, just to Kyle's point, he did play for Oregon, which is a much better conference than, Obi playing at Dayton, which is pretty much a mid-major.
Right.
Yeah, so, I'm a little more confident that he can, it wasn't just like beating up on a bunch of kids. I think the talent level was a little higher, and I think that'll prepare him more for the jump to the NBA, better than Obi was prepared to go against the difference in physicality and speed.
Yeah, obviously the A10 is you don't play a lot of Power 5 teams when you're in the A10 as opposed to because Oregon played Evan Mobley, and he's obviously going to be probably the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft. All right, so do you think we should move on from Chris Duarte?
Yeah, who's next? Throw it out there. Who's next?
All right. So another guy that we've been tied to a lot and who's been flying up the draft boards. He was somebody that Mello and I were talking about in the draft thread a while ago at someone we would want at 32. His name is Trey Murphy. 3-and-D. He's a transfer. He transferred from Rice to University of Virginia. He was almost a 50-40-90 guy, if I'm correct. He's a knockdown shooter, real good defender, big body. It's like kind of like a DeAndre Hunter type, one of those big wings that kind of can play 3-4. Coke, I'm going to kick it over to you.
All right. Now, this is a guy, I'm kind of lukewarm on. I'm not sold on this guy as a pick. I definitely would not trade up for this player. So let me make that clear. This is not an option for me to trade up. This is a guy, if he's sitting there, probably at 21, I would take a flyer on. Not at 19, and definitely not as a trade-up option. I'll tell you why. 3-and-D guy, I like the measurables, but what I don't like is I don't see an ability to put the ball on the floor. I don't see a lot of shot creation. I don't even see shooting off of movement. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at a guy who he doesn't really have a high ceiling despite the measurables. He's going to sit in the pocket in the corner, wait for a catch and shoot opportunity. Yeah, he connected at a good efficiency and a high clip. But my concern is when you get into the playoffs, when teams are buckling down on defense, coaches are gearing up a defensive scheme to try to stop you. I don't think this guy is going to help us in that regard. I like Duarte because, he's more of a versatile scorer, can hurt you in different ways. I think a guy like Trey Murphy is quite frankly easy to stop. So I'm lukewarm on him. That's why I stand on that.
All right, Moo, what about you?
Yeah, I actually like him a little bit more. I think he didn't really get a chance to show much. I think part of that is the system. Virginia, the way they play, they're more of a defensive centric team. I don't want to, it's kind of a slower paced system. So players play their roles, and Murphy, definitely had a role, right? He was kind of the defensive centric. You spot up for threes. So what I kind of look for are players that maybe show signs that they can do more. That even if they haven't, that there's something else there. I think Trey Murphy can. I don't want to say that he can create shots, right? I don't know that he has the game, but of the clips I've seen, the games I've seen, I see signs that he has the kind of the fluidity to be able to put the ball on the floor a little bit. To be able to kind of explode to the basket if he sees an opening. He does that pretty quickly. So I don't think he's necessarily just a shooter. I think there are some other aspects of his game that can be developed. The question is, will it? But I see it's there. He's lengthy, right? He's not kind of your prototypical standstill shooting forward. He has athleticism, he has length, and he does play with a good deal of speed and explosiveness. I think that you can probably do something with. He's kind of like a player that I love, right? Scottie Barnes. Biggest knock on him is that people don't think he can score, right?
Yeah.
I think he can. So I'm looking for guys that maybe didn't show all of their capabilities in college. And maybe, if I see something that they can do more in the NBA, there's, every draft has guys that can, turn out to do more in the NBA, right? Davion Mitchell is one example.
Yeah.
I'm looking for guys like that. Those are the guys that I would focus on, right? Especially with the picks not being good, finding guys that, really because of the role, because of the system, really didn't get to show all that they can do. And then bring him into the system and give him that opportunity to kind of do it. Trey Murphy, I think, is one of the guys that can do that. I think there's a little bit more to this game. It's not Scottie Barnes level, who I love, but I think
right. He probably would be going way higher than he is. But,
yeah.
The interesting thing too is that if you're looking at a lot of the mocks, we probably have to trade up to get both of these guys.
Yeah.
Like a lot of mocks are mocking Duarte to 14, which is why we've been hearing that the Knicks are trying to get in touch with the Hornets for a trade or the Pacers. I don't know. Maybe they've talked to the Spurs, but you know what? I'll find it kind of interesting that, we're linked to 11 and 13, but not 12. So I wonder if A, the Spurs are sold on somebody, or B, it's a smokescreen to the Hornets or the Pacers to try to get the Spurs to bite on something. But I'm kind of with Coke here. I think I would be less upset with a trade up for Duarte because I think we already know that there's more to this game. It's not like a hypothetical thing. And I'd be a little bit more upset with Trey Murphy because also too, it's like, I think we would have to go only to 15 to get to Trey Murphy. I don't know necessarily.
The thing, yeah. I don't think he's going to be going, as high as Duarte might.
Right. So like to package 19 and 21 to move up 4 spots for me, I feel like that's like not good asset allocation. Maybe if it was 21 and 32, I'd be like, okay, I'm not too disappointed in that. I can let that go. But using 2 first-round picks to go up 4 spots is a little steep, if you ask me. And I don't love the guy either. I do see what Moo's seeing though. Like I do think there's like some flashes of a pull-up game. I'm not gonna say like he can create like Duarte, but little flashes of that. There is some flashes of movement shooting, but he's not like great on that. Like you'd hope to have to develop it. And how many we didn't even really use movement shooting in Bullock that much. So will he even really have the chance to try to like work on those things game wise?
Here's the thing for you guys, and it kind of applies to Duarte as well, right? So Knicks have 2 guys that contributed really well for them last year. Both guys are free agents, Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock, right? There's been a lot of rumors that Bullock has got a lot of interest, right?
Yeah.
So from a Knicks standpoint, you think if their model is, hey, if we can't land that giant big fish this year, let's bank it for next year. So I don't know that it would be smart for them to say, throw money maybe more than necessary at either Bullock or Burks. So could either one of these guys be viewed as kind of replacements, potential if one guy goes or another, especially Duarte, I think from a Duarte standpoint, because Duarte can create a little bit and he obviously can score, he can shoot. So if Burks leaves because somebody decides, he's worth, $7 million, $8 million, whatever it is, maybe Duarte is a reasonable replacement, right? If you can land the big fish, it's kind of, you kind of bank the season, you develop, you probably win a little few more games, but you're focusing on future. So give Duarte a year to mature. Trey Murphy, the same thing, right? I see him kind of like a Bullock, potentially, right? So maybe that could be the focus. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, we heard Tibbs say, we need wings who can shoot.
Right.
And I think, that's a direct correlation to Reggie Bullock, being a free agent. There's no given that he's going to return. He had a great year. He's due for a raise. I don't think the Knicks should, lock a person like that in, with a multi-year deal. We have to maintain flexibility for the big fish first and prioritize that. So if Bullock or Burks gets an offer, I would willingly let them walk, bring in a younger guy who has a simplified role, just catch and shoot, defend, that classic 3-and-D role. And then you focus on hitting on one of these trades where we're going to get a big fish in to, complement Julius Randle or supersede him in the pecking order. And then I think we'll be set. So I think it would be fool's gold to, go around, trying to match money with Bullock and Burks. At this point, we're not in that position. And, they're interchangeable. So let's get some young guys in who are on a cheap scale contract and save that money for the big fish.
Right. That could do that one role that you need him to do. Right. So.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it's like that's what your question is what I've been thinking about these 2 picks for months now. I was just like, these are the perfect opportunities to replace Burks and Bullock on the cheap.
Right.
And that's why I always kind of hate. One of my least favorite things is like the week of the draft in the draft thread, because the thread gets like bum rushed by like a bunch of people that haven't really been paying attention to prospects all season. And they're just like all like flying off the hip being like, oh, like we need to find a star. We need to find the star. We need to trade up, get a star. And it's like, you have to have like a realization of what's going on is that like, chances are you're looking at a bench player at 19 and 21. I looked it up on DX use before they were bought out by ESPN. They had this nice little chart that had kind of like the breakdown of every pick of like what that pick turned into, whether it was like an all-star, a starter, or a bench player, or an end of rotation guy. And at pick 19 was like about 16%. You had a 16% chance of getting an either starter or an all-star. And it was even better actually at 21. You had about, I think, either a 25 or 26% chance of getting a starter or an all-star. And that like, as soon as I saw that, and granted these numbers were only to 2015 because ESPN, that's when ESPN bought them out. But that like set off like a light bulb for me. I was just like, that should kind of like change my thought process. It was like, oh, like, even if we grab someone that was high upside, chances are like they're just going to be a role player anyway. So like, let's find people that are good at doing certain things.
Right.
But yeah, so like we had to like temper our expectations, and that's like the thing that frustrates me about when the threads get bum rushed is just like, all right, calm down. You know, like if we do replace Burks and Bullock with these picks, that's like a very successful draft.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So I think we should move on. There's a couple other, since we've been desperate to trade up, and we talked about the two guys that we are probably going to try to trade up for. There's two other guys that we've been recently tied to, Miles Deuces McBride, and actually I don't even know how to say Bones his first name. Michonne Bones Highland. Who should we start with? Any preferences?
Let's go with McBride.
All right. Coke, talk to me about Deuces.
All right, so this is a guy who's he is tailor-made for a specialized role within Coach Tibbs' offense. I know everybody says they like, Tibbs likes his point guards to be a penetrator, a guy who's going to drive and kick. But I think this is a little bit different. I view him as like a Marcus Smart type of guy. Or if you want to go Tibbs comparisons, let's talk about Kirk Heinrich. A guy who's going to play tough defense. He's going to stick to Jay. He's not going to penetrate all the way to the cup, but he can get to his spot and pull up on you at either elbow. He can drive and kick a little bit, but he's not going to be a guy who's going to live, at the rim. And I like this kind of player. I think he's physical. He comes from a football background. This guy played quarterback. He's a leader. He does not get rattled. If you know anything about him personally, his entire family is full of athletes. They know the game. He was coached by his father. This is a dude who is tailor-made for the NBA. He won't be afraid of the garden, won't be afraid of the stage and the bright lights. I think Tibbs like him because he likes his mentality, and I think he likes what's in his shirt. He sees something inside of him that knows that he can step in and contribute from day one. And I think this is a guy who's going to be a backup. I don't think he's going to be, projected as a starter down the road. I think he's looking at someone who can run with quickly. They would be interchangeable. Two guys who can shoot the ball, both have enough length to defend. He's 6'2", but what does he have? Like a 6'7" or 6'8" wingspan or something crazy like that?
I think I saw 6'9", but I'm not.
Oh, 6'9".
I'm not 100% sure. I might be confusing him with somebody else.
Gang rise up.
Yeah, so,
Wingspan gang is back.
It's back. Not like Frank, but good enough. But he's more aggressive than Frank. He's not going to be timid on offense. So this is a guy. I would like him at that 32 spot. If we could get him at 32, I'm a happy camper. This is not a trade up option. So, this is not somebody we want to talk about trading up for. You want to sit in your spot. 21 would be good, but 32 would be great as a slot for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as high on the guy.
How dare you?
Sorry. I could see why Tibbs would want him, right? It's everything that Coke said. But from my standpoint, he projects to be a backup point guard. The Knicks should need it, right? Because right now, do they even have a backup point guard under contract?
I mean, do we even have a point guard in general?
Well, we don't have
what do you think of Vildoza and Quickly?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Vildoza, yeah.
Vildoza is definitely more of a ball savvy, kind of traditional, what you envision a traditional point to be. I mean, I get the interest. I think McBride would be fine with the second round pick. Even if they have to move up into the bottom of the first, if they really feel for him. I'm not actually not necessarily high on any of the point guards in this draft past a certain point. I think there are a lot of guys that are facilitators that I'd be interested in. I don't know. I think what's he gonna do? What's he gonna fit? And I still look at it as, if he comes on in the next draft, what's he going to do? What role is he going to play? Will he fit in? How quickly can he contribute? I don't see a lot of upside to him, which is, again, not necessarily a problem. But yeah, I mean, I think they'd be better off if they're looking for a guard, someone that may be able to create a little more for himself. Bones, somebody along those lines. That's just
so Moo. I disagree with you there. I think he I think he's got fadeaway jumpers in the post. He's got some step backs. He's got some side steps. I think there's some upside as a scorer on the perimeter. He hits a bunch of mid-range shots. He can create off the bounce. He's not he's not like a super duper playmaker, but like he can find guys in the corner on the drives and stuff like that.
Sure.
The only thing that's really weird, and Coke kind of alluded to him, is that like I actually did get to watch him a little bit. And so they would run back screen alley oops for him. So like, and he would get up there and dunk it, but he like can't get to the rim, and he like can't like he like goes to like floaters and stuff like that. And so, which is really weird because he's like he can create. He's not great at creating separation, but he can do it for like mid range shots. But yeah, like he like tries to create contact and throws crazy floaters in the air. You know, like it's weird for somebody that you can run alley-oop plays for to like not be able to use that athleticism like functionally like north-south.
That's kind of like Obi, right? If he has a wide open look in the basket, he looks like, he looks great. But, if you pass him the ball and he's got defenders around him, he's, kind of lost.
There's two reasons for
Stromile Swift.
Yep.
There's two reasons for that though, functionally.
Yeah.
Number one, you see that a lot with 2-foot jumpers. Guys who are 2-foot jumpers, they need a head of steam and open space to get up there. And an alley-oop play or a backdoor cut allows you to do that. Cutting to the rim off the dribble, driving, those are areas where 1-foot jumpers shine. And McBride, he's not really a 1-foot leaper, he's a 2-foot leaper. And the second thing is he doesn't really have a lot of wiggle to his game. He's more of a sturdy guard.
Right.
He looks like what I said, he's a football player playing basketball. And these sturdy guys, they don't tend to have a lot of wiggle. Same thing with RJ. Same thing with a guy like Melo. They know how to use their body. They're strong, but they're not going to be the most, dexterous or guys using dexterity or, silky smooth and getting to the cup. So that's why I said I threw it out there. I think Marcus Smart meets Kurt Heinrich. I think somewhere in between there is the slot that he's going to sit in for a comp.
So the Ringer has his ceiling as like a Drew Holiday, and then his floor as like a Javion Carter. But I was thinking like DeAnthony Melton. I feel like that's like
a good
another
one.
guy. Yeah, I feel like that's another guy. Yeah, maybe like I feel like every kind of defensive guard kind of gets comp to him. But actually, Moo, you mentioned Malcolm Brogdon too as a ceiling. I could see that if he works on his driving game a little bit.
He's not as good going north south as Brogdon.
Probably.
But the Ringer, you threw the Ringer out there. I just gotta say, they're kind of like the Mellow of draft coverage. They just like when you look at their comps, it's like such a wide variation. They gotta hit somewhere. So, they don't keep it narrow. And when you're really wide like that, you can say, oh yeah, well, we did say, the floor was this and the ceiling was that. So, they always.
That's what I thought they were going for. Yeah, I thought that's what I thought they were going for. But
anybody could do that. Hey, this guy's Deshaun Stevenson or Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, hey, this guy looks like, his floor is Frank Ntilikina, but his ceiling is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And no matter where he lands, hey, we were right.
Yeah, you know what? That was honestly a really great point about the 2-foot jumping off 2 feet. That's like another thing that kind of like, and I don't want to get too off topic, but Jayden Springer was somebody else that we've worked out. And that's like a thing that like really bugs me about him. This is like, he's like a big, strong dude and he's 18 years old. And like, like you can see that there's like some potential for creation in his game, but like again, it's like he does the 2-foot jump thing, and it's like that's how you get blocked. And that's like a problem with Deuces. He gets his shot blocked a lot, and we already have RJ who gets his shot blocked a lot.
We have a lot of guys that get blocked.
Yeah. And so let's move on to the fourth guy that we've now been recently linked to, and that's Michonne Bones Highland. This is probably Melo's favorite guy from the draft thread. Really interesting guy, played at VCU, very, very, very skinny, which is where his name Bones comes from. Yeah. Coke, I'll let you get started with the Bones.
I mean, this is a guy I like mainly because, I got ties to a lot of places. This dude is from Wilmington, Delaware. I spent a lot of time in Delaware. He played ball in Virginia. I spent a lot of time in Virginia. So I'm a fan of his just because of, reasons like that. But now let's talk about his game. I'm going to throw out some comps. He has a little Jamal Crawford in him with the slickness off the dribble. He got the strap where he can pull up from half court, still hit the shot. He's ice cold, ice cold water in his veins, that isn't afraid of anything. Honed his craft on the street, has a good story, persevering, coming back from a house fire where his grandparent died. And I think he lost a cousin as well. Persevered through that. He's just a good kid that you want to root for. Back to the game, I like the ability to stretch the floor as a shooter. He's slick off the dribble. Yeah. He's not a run jump athlete, so he's not going to be throwing it down or nothing like that. But he's slick. He's crafty. Gets to the hole. He has that SGA kind of element to his game where he finishes a little unorthodox, but he gets to his spot. Not the fastest guy, but he knows how to get to his spot and finish. Slick off the dribble, like I said, and he is just going to be a guy. He's going to get buckets. No doubt about it in my mind. Gonna get buckets. Not the biggest guy, like, Bones is the name, right. Looking straight pookie, needs to get in the gym, but I don't think he has the kind of frame that can even hold weight. So I think he's gonna stay. Yeah, so he's gonna stay in that Jamal Crawford kind of build where he's not gonna put on much weight even as he matures, but he's gonna know how to put that ball in the hole. And the Knicks would, they need somebody like that. I don't think he's a point guard. I think he's an undersized 2, but it doesn't really matter. 6-man extraordinaire, instant offense off the bench type of dude. And I wouldn't be mad at a pick like that at all.
Yeah. So let me throw this before you get out there. Let me throw this question at you, both of you, I guess. I see a lot of people compare him to Emmanuel quickly. I think they're different. I don't think it's 1-1. Personally, I think because Bones has like a little bit of a mid-range game and he can, finish not using floaters. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I'll just go ahead, Mo, because I know I spoke first before. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of piggyback on what Coke said. This guy's a gamer, right? He's the type of guy that fans love, coaches love, and he's going to go out there and he's going to compete. He doesn't need to be the most explosive guy, right? Because he's quick, he's aggressive. Just a really sharp game. Can shoot. When you add that type of tool set, that kind of personality awareness to his skills, being able to shoot. I think I like him as well. I don't know how high up in the draft I'd like him. I think some guys are a little bit nuts, right?
Mellow.
But yeah, I do like his game, and it's a lot of the same things, right? You just like the way he plays the game, and he's got talent and skills to come with it. So I definitely 21st pick, somewhere in that range. I think 19, 21st. Yeah, I mean, if they stay and they think this is the guy that can do, be a scorer, right? He's got the mentality and he's got the game for it. Maybe not a starter, right? Because he's kind of, too short to be a starting shooting guard and is not a point guard and whatever, right? But a 6-man, if you could get one of those, even at 19, right? A high-end 6-man, Lou Williams, whatever, right? Jamal, that type of player, you win with that type of guy.
I just want to...
Go.
No, I just want to answer your question a little bit more about the whole comparison between him and Quickly. I think that comes from the fact that they're both fearless, both combo guards, not really a pure 1 or 2, kind of interchangeable. But I think the main difference between them is, I think, like you said, alluded to in the beginning, he's super quick. I call him cat quick, quick off the dribble. He'll pull up on you at the drop of a dime, like you said, in the mid range. But just another thing about him, I just think he's a little more of a go-to guy. Like, you could just throw him the ball, ISO him, and just say, hey, get me a bucket with the shot clock running down. Quickly can't really do that. You know what I'm saying? He tries to draw contact, we sort of take the stop and go thing, but the defense is, especially with the refs, they're trying to outlaw that now. I heard they're doing some rule change or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to hurt Quickly. It's going to hurt guys like Trae Young. With a guy like Bones, you don't got to worry about that. He doesn't need the refs to save him. He can create space.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only thing that really scares me about him is that he's like, is he really 170? That I'm looking on Takeathon right now. They say he's 169. And it's like, boy, but like he's got freakish long wingspan. He's 6'9" and a quarter. So like that, he probably could defend if he could get, do you think maybe 190? Is that like too much to ask? Like, I feel like if you get to 190, that'd be great. 200 probably even better.
Yeah, I don't see 200.
200 is probably too much. Yeah.
He's in that Crawford range. Defensively, he's going to get picked on a little bit because, there's some guards in the league who are, got that man strength. They're a little, stronger up top in the upper body. But what I do like about Bones is he's going to play passing lane. So might not be a good on-ball defender, but he's going to get you some steals. Look up his steals. Kyle, if you get a chance, tell us where he ranks in the NCAA in the steals category. I'm sure he's pretty high. He has very quick hands.
1.9 steals a game.
And that's excellent for college. So,
yeah.
I think he'll help out in that regard as a help defender.
So if you're going to, if we're going to rank the 4 prospects that we talked about who you would want most, second most, third, and fourth, Coke, who would you prefer out of these 4?
That's a tough one. You caught me off guard there, but I'm gonna jump on it. Give me Bones first. That's my highest priority. Give me Duarte second. Give me McBride third, and I'm leaving Trey Murphy last.
All right, Moo.
I will go with Duarte first, and then it's a toss up between Bones and Trey, and then McBride.
Coke. Yeah, I have the same order as you as Coke. Yeah.
This kind of shows, it's kind of a lot of it is really a matter of eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
I think there's really and that's why maybe trading up. I don't think they should do that unless it's clear.
I want more shots at it too. Let's not put all our eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
If we keep our picks and stay still, if you strike out on one, you might hit on the other one. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, like I think there's people. I mean, I feel like I would still jump up for Davion Mitchell. Let's say he made it to like 13. Like I think I would try to swing a trade there.
Mitchell's actually one of my trade up guys that I listed.
All right.
I disagree with you guys, man.
Okay. All right.
So bring some smoke.
Let's
bring some smoke, man.
All right, Coke. In a trade up situation, who would you want to trade up for? And it has to be realistic, like outside the top 10. Because maybe the Kings pick is in play if we don't want to be in free agency. Because that we could probably take on Buddy Hield and Bagley. That's pretty much what the Grizzlies had to do to get to number 10. So I'm assuming it would be about the same to get to number 9. Who are your trade up options if we're going to try to get into the end of the lottery?
All right. The key word is realistic. So, we're going to leave out the top 6 guys. That's not realistic. I could narrow it down to 2, but I'm really only going to stick with 1. I'm going to tell you the bubble guy first. The bubble guy is Moody, but, he doesn't have the ability to create off the dribble at this point. So it's kind of a shaky move. I might just say, hey, I'll sit back and take my 2 shots because I can get a Trey man probably later on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to leave out Moody. The only guy who realistically I pull the trigger on is Bouknight. Bouknight. I think he's the second best primary scorer in this draft. I slot him right behind Jalen Green as a pure scorer that you can just give the ball. He's creative enough to get you a bucket, in a variety of ways. I like his size. He's only about 6'4", 6'5", but he has length. He has athleticism. He's creative. He can rebound really well for a guy his size. I think that's an element that's not really talked about. I watched a lot of Connecticut games. He's fighting inside. He's under the boards. He's a great rebounder. And I just like everything about him. I think he's a pure athlete, if you know anything about him, because I like to do some history on these guys. He played baseball first, and he was an excellent baseball player. So I like to see guys who, excelled in more than one sport because it tells me that, they are just an athlete. They're a natural. And those are the things I like about Bouknight. I think once the 3-point jumper becomes a little more consistent, this is a guy who, even if you're outside those top 6 spots, could become a star.
Yeah, I think he's put in my 2 cents about Bouknight because I've probably watched. I'm the only one that's watched more than you. I do love this kid. I do think he's getting a little overhyped at this point, but what I always saw when I watched him is he's not a playmaker. He does not make plays for other guys, but he's a smart player. If he doesn't have to play, he moves the ball, keeps it moving. That's what I like about him. Then you talk about defense. He was never a great defender, but he was always, more or less in the right place. He was always trying. He always put an effort. He just isn't one of those guys who's just naturally good on defense. And like you say, once the 3-point shooting comes, that's going to be the key to his game. I don't think he has that same level of functional athleticism that a lot of people think he has. I think he is pretty athletic, but functionally in games, I never really saw him like take off like Zach LaVine does, who he gets compared to a lot. Yeah, I love this kid. Like I keep saying, it actually kind of feels like how I was on John Moran a couple years ago, because I think Coke was the only one to be on his train before me. I think Coke brought him up first, but I was like, man, this kid, he's gonna be pretty good. He's gonna be a steal if we can get him at like 9 or 10. And then people started talking about him top 3, and I was like, hold on a second. But then
you jumped off.
Yeah. Then I jumped off, number 2. And he's made me look stupid ever since. So Buck Knight's probably gonna end up being like the best player in the class. He's gonna be better than Jalen Green, so he's gonna make me look stupid again. Thanks, James.
You want to hear a horrible stat about Moses Moody? Guess what he finished at the rim this year?
42%.
Yeah, let's say.
Oh, you're close. 40% at the rim.
Yeah.
Horrible.
That's what gives me pause.
Yeah, that major pause. All right.
What did Keon Johnson? What was his percentage at the rim?
I don't know what it is at the rim, but I can tell you he's like in the 17th percentile in the fast break. And he's like probably the most freakish athlete in probably Scottie Barnes, but he's probably the second most freakish athlete in the whole draft class. Or maybe Jericho Sims. I mean, he touched his head on the rim.
Yeah, that guy.
He touched his head on the rim.
Question is, does he have any basketball skills?
Right. But, that's always you could say that about Keon Johnson too.
That's my concern with him. But yeah, I don't know. I had a couple of guys. Davion Mitchell is one of them. I actually, he's kind of a unique animal to me. I don't know how, from a projection standpoint, I mean, he's kind of, all over the place. I just like the way he plays. I think he's the type of guy that can elevate his team by his presence, by the way he competes, his defensive skills, his, just, go all out at it. He can drive. His shooting, I think his percentage is great in college. I don't know how well it'll translate in the NBA.
Well, let me throw
That's the big question.
Yeah.
He shot, what did he shoot? What, 67%? What was it at the free throw line?
Yeah.
So that's what scares me. Yeah, that scares me, man, as a guard. I don't know if that's going to I don't know if the 3-point shooting is going to translate to the NBA level if you can't knock down your free throws. And then the other thing, because I know you two are big Davion Mitchell guys.
Yeah.
Look at the measurables. He measured 6 feet without shoes. Right. He was billed as 6'3", so we know that's BS. He's with shoes on, he's like 6'1" and a half or something like that.
Tall shoes.
Yeah. So is he a point guard or is he a shooting guard? And if he's not a point, are you guys okay with a guy, who doesn't have length, playing the 2 and guarding some of these guys? I understand he's a great defender in college, but will that fly in NBA?
That's a good question.
I think that's the biggest question, because he ended up being smaller. Although he's like 200 pounds too, so he does have some size to him.
He's got explosiveness. He's got
The reason why I think that the 3-point shot is real is because he hit kind of like a lot of like crazy off the bounce threes. If he was just a catch and shoot guy, I think I'd be a little bit more skeptical. But like he was like pulling crossover step backs and for 3-pointers, and I don't think you can fake that. Unless it's like the difference in defense and like how they close out is going to create that much of a difference, which it could.
Right.
But I think with the difficulty of shots, I feel like that's going to translate. And I do like him athletically, even if he's not as elite defensively. I think you could probably get away with him as your starting point guard. As long as you had and we have other playmakers too. So I think you could get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key. You need playmakers. The Knicks have really one? Randall. So
I
even
count RJ as a half a playmaker
okay,
as well.
he has
You know,
potential. He has potential,
yeah,
right? But I think whatever they do, unless they even if they did whatever took on Westbrook to add some draft picks. Westbrook, you still need you need other guys that can play make, right? Because you don't
yeah.
really want to have Westbrook do that because that's not really his strength, regardless how many triple doubles he has. So I think adding guys that can make plays is key, more so than almost as much as kind of fill specific roles. What I look for are what guys in this draft can actually make plays, right? So whether it's creating for themselves, whether it's getting others involved, those are the types of guys that I'm kind of been interested in. That's why again, a big Barnes fan, because I really think the whole point forward thing works for him. I think he has a lot more offensive ability than he's shown. But I think Mitchell kind of works in that same type of mindset. Same thing with the other guy I had is a guy that I think is very polarizing. And that's that 6'8" Aussie.
Oh, Josh Giddey.
Oh,
Yeah,
Giddy, yeah, I
Yeah, my
like Giddy.
boy.
yeah. I think he's a playmaker, right?
Yeah.
He just makes other players better. He sees the floor. I think the concerns about what kind of offensive game does he have? Is he athletic? I don't think that matters. He can you put him on this team, and let's say they add a scorer type point guard, Westbrook, whatever it is. That you've got another playmaker. You got guys that can make plays that really don't need to score, right? So I'm high on Giddy. I would if he falls, and he's kind of right now like anywhere from like 11 to 14 in that range.
Yeah.
He's a
He's
guy
not gonna
that
fall. He's not
Yeah,
gonna
well,
fall, man.
I would say 10. I would say 10 to 14 is
10 to
probably his
14. Yeah, I
range.
think if he hits that range, and maybe that's a guy you look for to make a move for.
He's tied to the Grizzlies a lot, which I find really surprising. Just that like I feel like you want the ball in Ja's hand as much as possible, and if you're going to trade up and to get a
Mhm.
mid to late lottery
Right.
pick, you kind of want that person to go and start,
Right,
and I
right.
just like it's like, oh, so you wanted to trade up and you take all that bad salary for someone to be John Morant's backup point guard.
That would be absolutely the worst place to go.
Yes.
Yeah,
You kill the opportunity to ever play point as a
Yeah.
starter. If you're talking about point forward, they already have Kyle Anderson.
yeah.
I don't
was
see
there-
that at all.
Speaking of, I was going to ask because I haven't watched a ton on Josh Giddey. Does he have the handle to be an NBA
Yes,
point guard, or is he
yes.
going to be more of like a slow mo Kyle Anderson type guy?
I think he's a real point. I know some
Yeah.
other people in the forum, namely Mello, keep throwing out the Kyle Anderson, maybe because they saw that on Twitter. I tend to
Yeah.
use my own evaluation. I kill the white noise and I just go off my eyes. To me, he's a real point guard. He's tall, but I think he is a pure point. Can he defend the position? That's another story. You might have to put him on a 3 and someone else on the point. But offensively, the guy's a point guard. The passing instincts, I know I'm gonna get flack for this. Don't really care. I believe in what I see. This guy is like a shorter version of Tony Kukoc. That's how much I believe in his passing ability.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be a north south guy the way Kukoc was. He's gonna go east west, but he's gonna find cutters. He's gonna find shooters. He can collapse the defense without getting all the way to the rim, just because he has the height advantage. So if he posts you up, you're gonna collapse the D. He can kick out. He can stop at the elbow and find a cutter going to the rim. It's a lot of things he can do, but a lot of it depends on the makeup of the team that he lands on. I want to see him go somewhere with a ton of shooters. If he was in Golden State, oh my goodness, that's a place that I see where you can move Curry off the ball. You have him on the ball. You got Clay coming back, and you're running the offense through him and Draymond. To me, that's an optimal landing spot for him.
I mean, for me, if the Knicks can, add a high-end scoring guard, add a couple of shooters, you got Mitch there, you got Julius there. I mean, I think there could be a fit for him there as well. So, from a trade-up standpoint, I wouldn't go nuts per se. I don't think there's too many guys I would go nuts for in a trade-up. But if he falls in that range, late lottery, and there is an opportunity, especially if if you could just do the 19, 21, and 32, I would move up
Okay.
and look for a guy like him. Like,
All right.
again, he doesn't have to be everything, right? So yeah, he may not be a 18, 20 point a game scorer. If he was that, then he'd be Magic Johnson, right? So
Yeah, I also too like he's obvious, he's like very young. I think he's 18 too,
right.
and he's like dumb skinny. And I think he looks like he has the type of body that can like put muscle on. So I think he would probably get a little bit more athletic, and he's like kind of like lanky Gumby-ish. So like I think his handles can improve too. He's got some nice like hezzy moves and stuff like that. There's not like
he's got that
he's herky jerky.
He's kind of got that really kind of mini Kevin McHale type body. Right, and McHale was, if you look at him, you're like, this guy can't physically be a basketball player because he looks like a freak, right? But
Frankenstein.
But you know what? He moves, right?
And he's like flashed a couple like some off the dribble threes, like not a lot. That's like
that's
the
the area.
concern.
That's where he has to work. The shooting off the dribble.
Yep.
He has a little set shot. It's a little flat.
Right.
If he can get some more arc in the shot and he can pull up, then I think that's the difference. I do want to talk about his body type though, because I'm not really worried about how skinny he is.
Right.
Jim, take a look at the guy's legs. He has good legs on him. He has a strong base. So that tells me, he's not going to be weak for too much longer. I think.
Yeah, I definitely think he can bulk up for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely more so than Bones.
Oh, for sure.
or Zaire Williams. Yeah. Well, should we talk about Zaire Williams or should we move on? Okay. Let's do a little. We've actually also been linked to him. He's interviewed and worked out for us. So I guess let's chit chat a little bit about Zaire Williams. Coke, go first.
All right, I got no inside plugs, but I'm just going off of what Zaire said. He was quoted as soon as they spoke to him and interviewed him, he brought up World Wide West. So to me, it seems like World Wide West is taking a liking to him. He called World Wide West a character. You're not going to refer to a guy like that unless you're in a certain comfort zone with him.
Right.
So I think they like this dude. I think he likes them. I know people are going to look at the Stanford stats and go ill. The percentages are off. He didn't live up to the hype as far as points per game. But I don't really care about those things in his case because he's young, he's intelligent. The dude has the size, the legit 6'8", 6'9" wing. If you just watch the game and put aside the numbers for a little bit, put aside the analytics, the dude, he pulls up from anywhere on the floor. He can shoot off the dribble. He can catch and shoot. He can defend a little bit. He's not really the high burst athlete that you would expect for a wing like him, but he's athletic enough, and I like him, especially as a guy who can develop in time to like a tertiary scorer. I like him in that that third option on the offense in time. You get a guy 3 years, I think he'll get you 16, 17, 18 a game, in his prime, but also he flashes playmaking ability. Look at how he runs the pick and roll. I love that about him the most. I mean, a 6'9" guy who can run a pick and roll, and then if you drop back, he can pull up and hit the jumper with that silky smooth shot. I think we just got to forget about the numbers for a little bit and project. So with a guy like him, if we take him, just, lock him in the gym, throw away the key for a year or two, come back, and I think you'll have something nice on your hands.
So you know who he reminds me of? Reminds me of a young Kevin Knox. So if he rolls up
oh my God.
with a Fortnite
Please.
200 album, beware.
So here's the deal. There's so Stanford, right? He played for Stanford, which kind of says something.
He has to be smart to get into Stanford. I don't think they cut those criteria.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the same thing with Notre Dame.
Right.
They make sure that your academic is standing as
right.
well.
And
didn't Robin Lopez go to Stanford?
Both Lopez brothers did. Yeah.
But Stanford actually never played a home game last season. They were always on the road because of I think obviously
the COVID.
Yeah. So he never actually got to settle down and get used to a routine. I think Zaire Williams is more of a home run swing. If the Knicks stay where they have, you use one pick for a guy that can contribute right away. Use the other one for a high upside guy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go that route. And Zaire Williams would be a perfect guy for that. As far as Kevin Knox, I mean, that is a concern, right? Anytime you have a guy that, the numbers weren't great and you kind of, the season was uneven, as a Knicks fan, you're like, oh my God, please, we don't need another Kevin Knox. I don't think he's Knox. His ability to make play, Knox wasn't a playmaker. Knox showed flashes, here and there, shooting, a little bit of basket work, but he never was involved. He was the guy standing there, right? And if he gets the ball, sometimes he'll look great. Sometimes he can get a shot in. Zaire Williams can handle. He can actually create. He plays with more aggressiveness I think in that one off season, than Knox has in this is his third year. So I think there's a bit more to that. He needs working though. So the question is, how do you fit him in with the Knicks if you draft him? Maybe as sort of a defensive stopper first, right? Because you don't want him to sit at the end of the bench forever.
Right.
So maybe throw him in there and do kind of what everybody wanted Tibbs to do with Frank, kind of throw him out there and defend the other team's, best guys. He's got the tools that can do that. He's quick on his feet. He's got the length. He does play aggressively. So I think that's the type of guy, if you're sticking with what you have, you draft, whomever, somebody that can contribute right away, and then you go with his Zaire and see what you have. Knicks need talent. He's got talent, right? You may need to wait a little bit for it to happen. You're not going to get ready-made high-end talent where they're picking. So, you pick one that can contribute, that has a lower ceiling, higher floor, and you go with a home run swing with the other pick. That's what I think it would be a good pick. He's probably going to be down there, although he's one of those guys that's kind of hopping up and down depending on whose opinion you're looking at. I don't know. I get the sense that a lot more teams are looking for guys that can more contribute right away.
Yep. Which is why he has a shot to land
Right.
to it.
Correct.
But
Correct.
Jim, I don't want to cut you off, but let me just throw this out there because I don't want to lose that Knox argument right now. I'm pretty sure Knox has never gotten a triple double in his life. Knox is a guy, if he doesn't score, he's not going to bring anything to the table.
Right.
If you just watch Stanford, he had a nice game where he got a triple double last year, and I think that tells the story of Zaire's potential as an all-around contributor. Like I said, he can run a pick and roll, he can catch and shoot, he can pull up on a dime and hit the jump shot, and he can finish in transition. So this is a guy. I do want to contrast something that Moose said, though. I don't think he's going to be a stopper. I just don't think he's like Bullock. He's going to bother some guys with his length, but he doesn't have the strength. So I think if you leave him on an island with a legit NBA scorer, he's going to get punished. I kind of feel like with him, you got to redshirt him. If you draft him and teams are scared off because of his age and lack of production, just lock him in a gym. Just leave him in there for a year. Throw away that key. Let him work with that dynamite coaching staff. Come back in a year or maybe two at most, and then you'll have something on your hands. I think if we sit and we keep 2 picks, go with an established known quantity with the other pick. If you can get a Duarte without moving up, or if he falls, or if you can get even a Jared Butler, something like that, and then let us forget about Zaire for a little while. And I think you'll be rewarded in time. That's the kind of strategy I would go with if we took him. But Jim, I'm gonna let you live, man.
All right. So my biggest concern, and I almost would rather have BJ Boston than Williams, just because I worry that he was very unproductive at college, that he wasn't able to, and I know that there's a lot of extenuating circumstances, but he didn't really put together a couple of good games in a row. I think that's my biggest fear with him is yeah, he did have the triple double. He had a couple 17-point games that he was efficient, but my biggest fear is BJ Boston over his last 10 games shot 40% from 3. That's a flash of something to me. I don't really see Zaire, he didn't really have that flash where I was just whoa. And I was you know what? I mean, that triple double game is great, but I don't know. I would like to see it over a couple more games like that, I guess, where you could be all right, well, he's starting to figure it out. He looks like he belongs. I mean, how much, again, it's how much is this hype is because he played with LeBron James' son. You know what I mean? I was actually going to ask you, Coke. I think you might be the one that would know this. is Worldwide West tight with like LeBron and his crew?
Oh,
Because like
absolutely, because you got to remember, Leon Rose for a time was LeBron's agent, and
Okay.
Worldwide West and Leon Rose are like this. So he definitely has a strong relationship with those guys, and I think that's one of the reasons why we hear some of these names thrown out there that we're hearing.
Yeah, so I wonder if since he was calling him out, or he was mentioning how like Wes is a character and stuff like that, I wonder if they go back, a few years, because like obviously, yeah. So they probably know one another.
Yeah, I'm sure they do through that LeBron Bronny connection. With those West Coast AAU teams that the James family are running on. I wouldn't put it past them to have a prior relationship. Like I said, from the way he speaks, this seems to be a legitimate comfort zone. It wasn't like a first time meeting. You're not going to refer to guys like that, off of one dinner or sit down.
Yeah, and it's like I wasn't even planning on bringing him up, but it just came up organically, and it seems like a good person to chat about, just because of those reasons. And like like we're all connections. This team,
That's right.
It's like who Leon knows, who CAA, who's UConn, who's tight with Wes. So it's like it's very distinct. If we can't get the wings that we want, that he's one of the wings that we grab.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so I guess my final.
So
I don't know if this is our final.
Hang on. So I blanked out for a second. We were talking about BJ Boston, right? You're talking about his shooting. Mm-hmm. So to give more specifics, for the first 9 games of the season, he shot 5 for 32 from 3. Then over the last 16, he shot 37% on 4 attempts a game.
That's what I'm saying, and it's like, and this isn't me trying to pitch BJ. Let's draft BJ Boston. It's more of like he strung together like a solid, 16 games or so, right? Is that what you said? Of shooting.
Well, really, it was 15 games because the last game he went like 0 for 4 from 3.
Okay, all right. So he put together like a solid 15 games in a row, and I think that's
he
like
played more good than bad.
Right.
But he wasn't consistent. It's like how RJ started the year terrible from 3, but then he had a whole 72 game season to bring his numbers back up. BJ Boston could have maybe done that if he had 72 games, but he only had 25. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be mad at Boston, man. I wouldn't be mad at number 32. I just don't want him with the 19 or 21.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like let's not go too deep into Boston because like again, whatever. So who is your ideal guys at 19, 21, and 32? Coke, go first.
Wow.
I think one guy that I mentioned, prior, Jared Butler. We're talking these Baylor guys, and I actually have him. I like him a little bit more than Davion Mitchell because I think his skills are a little more translatable. He has some stop and start moves. He can pull up with the jumper. He can shoot off the catch long range. He has more size than Davion Mitchell, so that tells me he's a little more versatile in being able to defend 2s or even switching onto a 3. He has wide shoulders. If you look at his build, I think he's going to put on more weight as well. I think he has some George Hill in his game, but a little more length. And George Hill has great length as well. So I shouldn't even say a little more length. They're right there with each other, neck and neck. And I just like everything about Jared Butler, man. I think he's a guy. If he runs point, he's not afraid to play off the ball, so you can still run the offense through Julius Randle, but still have a guy who can help him out. When teams double up on him or try to pressure him. Same thing with Quickly. I think he just fits the dynamic of the team. He's coming from a well-coached team that just won a national championship. So that's a guy I really like. If we don't trade up, which, like I said, I'm not a fan of doing, I want to sit and see who's available and take 2 shots at it. And I think Jared Butler is a good contribute now type of pick, and then we can swing for a home run with the other one.
Apparently he's like brilliant too. Like I think it was I was reading an article in The Athletic where one of the scouts was like, "Oh, if he doesn't make it as a basketball player, he could be president."
Oh wow!
So, apparently he's like super duper smart. My favorite, because I'm a big fan too. My favorite thing about him is that he's a movement shooter. It's like I can see him plugging and play. You can plug him and play him on the Knicks. Like almost like Derek Fisher, but not really like Derek Fisher. I don't know if like he's gonna be as good defensively as that, but like
I think he's a rich man's Fisher.
Yeah,
He's better.
He has definitely more off the bounce stuff than Fisher does, but like you can definitely run him off some screens. And I'm just imagining, Randall in the post throwing out to Butler coming around a screen somewhere for three. Like I'm just like I could see it like plug and play. All right, but sorry, I wanted to just chime in and talk about Butler a little bit. Who's your who would you want to? So Butler at 19. Who's your guy at 21?
Like I said, I would like to go one of them high upside guys. So like I mentioned before, maybe a Zaire, maybe a Bones Highland. I think Bones Highland would be excellent at 21. If you went Butler and Highland, I mean, we just solved all of our shooting woes right there.
Yeah.
But just to circle back, I do want to throw this out there because we didn't talk about it with Jared. Are you guys scared off with the the health issues that they wanted to investigate before ultimately giving them the stamp of approval? Do you think that could creep up because maybe that'll cause them to drop? Who knows?
Well, that's the thing. That's exactly what I was thinking about. That definitely will cause them to drop. The question is, is it worth it? Right. So we've seen guys that had big health issues that dropped significantly and turned out great. So Michael Porter, I think, right?
Yeah. The most recently.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. I think that's still TBD because it's only been like 2 years with him.
That's true.
It still could flare up, but he's looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that is a concern. It has to be a concern. Maybe not as bad if you're drafting him, in the latter half of the first. So I could see that. But
I definitely think he could go higher if it wasn't for the heart condition, for sure.
Yep.
I'm not too particularly worried about it. He's been cleared by the NBA. We've seen Jeff Green most recently. He had heart surgery, and he's back on the basketball court. He's had a really long career. I think that gives me a lot of confidence. Also, for me, like I feel like medical science and like surgery and stuff like who would have thought Durant was going to come back and look 100%, if not even better? It was like the best he's ever looked.
Figures.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like just medical to science and medical technology has just gotten so good that like I'm less concerned that there's going to be an issue with him. I would 100% be ecstatic if we got him at 19. All right. So you want to do Zaire? What about what do you have anybody you like in the top of the second round there, Coke?
McBride or Boston. I take a shot with either one of those two. I think they'll be there, especially BJ. I think his year was very disappointing. I think it's going to scare some suitors off. I think we got the Kentucky connection with World Wide West and Leon and those guys. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we took BJ Boston, number 32, or McBride, who we know Tibbs is pushing for.
All right, Moo. Give me your guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because these guys are kind of all over the place. So I'm going to, give a best case scenario, semi-realistic. If Jalen, I'm a Jalen Johnson fan. I think he has, he's just terrific talent and NBA game, NBA, ready, NBA potential upside. If he's there at 19, he's the guy that I would look at drafting.
I figured you were going to mention him as a trade up guy too. I was expecting you to bring him up.
Yeah, it's weird because Johnson's, he's as high as, late lottery to all the way. I've seen him in the 20s. So he's the guy. Definitely. There's a lot of guys that would kind of trade up for. Kai Jones is another one. Right. Mm-hmm. I think Jalen Johnson is the guy I like the most. I don't really care as much about his off court, wackiness. Because when he's on the court, he's focused on the game, right? So just like Rodman type, Rodman was nuts off the court, but I could care less. Right? If he plays the game, when he's on the floor, I don't really care what he does off the floor. So,
do you have any concerns with his fit though, with Julius Randle?
It's funny because that's who I compare him to as well.
I think I do. I think the concern is not just Randle, but also Barrett. Right. So it seems excessive.
Because you got a concern about the shooting ability. He's not really a 3-point shooter.
Sure.
He's a power forward, not a center. So I just feel like we'll be in that Obi pocket again,
It would be. I'd be looking to move Obi as soon as possible. At whatever chance I get. That's one guy. I got kind of guys all over the place. Chris Duarte, definitely. I think if he's there at 19, Zaire Williams at. So the four or five guys that I would focus on: Jalen Johnson, Chris Duarte, Trey Murphy, Zaire Williams, and Bones Highland. I'm looking for guys that have talent, that can do things. Right? That can.
You love passing though. You didn't like your boy
Huh?
Cooper? No one said Cooper. All cast.
I'm beginning to more and more.
I was about to bring him up actually. If no one mentioned him,
Remember when we did the mock? I asked if I could change my mind. So yeah, I'm more and more.
I've been seeing a lot of. I see a lot of mocks with Cooper up in the 30s now. Out of the first round completely.
Yeah.
Which doesn't surprise me at all, actually. But I feel like too, like he's almost like a home run swing too. It's like if that shooting comes around, I mean, with his ball handling and his dribble penetration, it's going to be a little upsetting to watch him go by. But
yeah, Cooper might be more of a second rounder, I think, right now at this point. But I want guys that have the kind of, more aggressive mentality when they're on the floor, that has talent. Fit, yeah, I mean, the Knicks are not, they need to add talent. I'll add the talent and worry about the fit a little bit later to see who shakes out. So those are the guys that I would focus on. Guys that can contribute, fill roles, but the guys that also can play. I don't want guys that are wishy-washy, that you have to worry about, is he going to be another, Kevin Knox, regardless of how much talent he has. I want guys that show that when they're on the floor, they're competing, right? They know how to play the game. They have the intensity. Even if you have to wait, like Zaire Williams, you got to wait for him a little bit. Guys like that is what I'm looking for. Guys that can put the ball in the basket, that can, run an offense, that can, just do things that make this team a little more intimidating.
Understand how to play basketball a little
understand
bit.
how, and that's kind of the thing with Jalen Johnson. I think he has an excellent feel. Everything else, he just seems to me to have a natural feel for basketball. And then when you add in the physical tools and the upside and the things he can do, passing, I think he would be an excellent fit. If he doesn't fit with Randall and Barrett, I mean, then, there are moves that can be made, that Knicks fans might not like, but, it gives you opportunities, right, to make additional moves.
Trade or move.
Yep.
Apparently there's been a rumor too that we called Cleveland about number 3. And the only thing I could think of that would get us up that far would be trading Randall. And I don't want to like get this too far off topic, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So it seems like, all bets are off and all things are open and on the table for us right now.
As they should be. You got to do your due diligence as a GM. I would listen to every scenario, anything that could get the team better.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Like, I would honestly be very shocked if they decided to do a teardown after having one good season with Randall at the helm. But like, I mean, theoretically, I feel like Randall could probably get you 7 and 14 from the Warriors too. That might be, like.
7 and 14, I wouldn't do it.
Nah,
just because he's proven to be an All NBA player. Second All NBA team. But if you're talking top 5, hey, I'll pack your bags, bro. Top 3, I mean, give me Jalen Green and we're good to go for the for the next decade or 15 years, man.
But so what I was thinking is that you would have to make 2 moves. You grab 7 and 14 from the Golden State, and then you package 7 and 14 and maybe, I don't know, 21 and get to the Cavs at 3 or 32, Like that.
You know what, Jim? You would probably have to take back Kevin Love for them to do that.
Oh,
that would be the thing.
But that
would be fine because we're rebuilding, right?
Right, because we're tearing down. Normally I would be like, no, that's a horrible. Well, that's why it's like I don't really want to do if there's a deal with the Kings on the table, I don't want to do that because it's like taking in Hield and taking in Bagley caps out.
Honestly, I think if the Knicks trade anybody, it would be Barrett, not Randall.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know.
The thing is, it's the opposite though with that, because if you trade RJ for number 3, like granted, yes, I would probably trade RJ for Jalen Green straight up, but you look at it and it's like Well, now you're offsetting it even more with Julius Randle. You're also telling him, hey, we're gonna take a step back this year because in all likelihood, Jalen Green isn't gonna help you win a lot right in the first year because a lot of young players, no matter how good, don't help you win the first year. So then, if Randall wants, he can just leave after next year if he plays great and we're not up to standards.
But
So
the thing is
I
this,
think
Kyle.
it's more likely that we're
got
gonna
other guys, right?
if we're gonna move up to 3, I think it's more likely we would use Randall than RJ for that, just because of
But
the age.
let me throw this out there though, Kyle, because in a scenario that you're listing where we move RJ, I think it's feasible because the offseason doesn't end on draft night.
Right.
Don't forget that Worldwide West and Leon, they're planning to get one of these big fish. And now I don't want to go too far into free agency and trades, but let's just throw this out there. We got Lillard and Beal planning the same exact tactic at the same exact time. And then you got Sexton lurking as well. I don't put nothing past Worldwide West. Like they say, this guy's a character. He could be telling all these dudes, wreak havoc and raise hell right now. And then, one of the shoes got to drop. The shoes got to drop for one of you guys. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're pulling some kind of like team up move behind closed doors, and they're just trying to tie up GM's hands, right before the draft. So
we'll see. That's entirely different conversation, though. Like, not taking that into account. If we're taking that into account, that changes stuff. But
yeah.
Well, I think I saw. I don't know if it was Chad Ford. It might be somebody else. But they were saying if the Knicks don't make we're talking with people about trading out as well as trading up and making the picks. So like anything is possible.
But yo, let me throw this name out there real quick because I haven't heard him mentioned today. Corey Kispert, anyone? Dead-eye shooter? No?
I was gonna say something at the end because I have NBA TV on in the background. They're doing their mock draft. They have Kispert falling to us in 19 and Ty Jones at 21, which I think is I was gonna say
that's a good draft.
That's a real good draft.
That'd be okay.
Yeah, that'd be real good.
I wouldn't hate it.
I think Kispert. People think he's boring, but yo, man, I think we can use a dead-eye shooter who can come off screens. He can shoot from way deep. He can get to the rim a little bit too. I think that's underrated. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's smart. He knows how to move without the ball. He can finish in transition. Look up the analytics on that. I like Corey Kispert. I just don't know if he's really going to be there, though.
I'd be surprised if he was. I think what he does has a high demand, so somebody's going to take him.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out about shooting, and justifiably so,
right.
which I think is fair. I forget where I was going to go with this.
I guess talking about mock drafts I saw today, I saw an absolutely cursed one where it was I think Isaiah Jackson at 19 and Garuba at 21.
Oh God,
that's what ESPN has for us.
Absolutely,
I don't want any no rim runners, please.
And then they had us with Sharif Cooper at 32. I was like, Cooper's fine at 32, but man, there's no shooting there.
Yeah, serious.
The rest not so great. Yeah, I mean, Garuba has been paired to us a bunch as well. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Taj Gibson, and that's what all the draft evaluators are saying as well.
Want. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would piss me off so much, man.
Yeah, the only bigs that I have a couple bigs that I would be interested in us drafting. One is obviously Kai Jones. I'm gonna butcher it. Yep. I'm gonna butcher his name, but the Turkish big man Senguin.
Yes, yeah, I like him.
I like him a lot. I don't know if he'll be there at 19 or 21, but if he is, I feel like we have to draft him. He's really really good. He's flashed some sick fadeaway jumpers. He can pass as a big man. There's some flashes of 3-point shot. He's shot over 80% from the line.
The defense is bad though.
Yeah.
If you're ready for Cancer Part 2,
he tries. I think if you scheme him, I think you can get something that's better than Cantor. I'm hoping for Valanciunas or Nurkic, that. As
what about Demonis Sabonis?
Yeah, something like that.
But he's not as big as those guys, so don't he doesn't have the length. He's only 6'8", 6'9". Those guys are legit. 6'11", 7 foot guys.
Rumor has it he's 6'10", so fingers crossed. Hopefully he's there. And then at 32, these are more guys that are 32. I'm kind of interested in Charles Bassey.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, he's my guy. He's got like some post game stuff. I mean, he's not like a freak athlete, but he's solid. He's more than a rim runner. And I'm also, I feel like Moo might get a little mad about this, but
Don't say Sharp.
Davion Sharp, baby. He's lost like 20. He's like lost like 30 pounds or something like that. Yeah. I watched this clip on YouTube, and he was like drilling threes in an empty gym. So he kind of like got a little bit of a Kyle O'Quinn thing, I think, going.
I'm good.
Hang on. Doesn't Mitch drill open threes in a gym?
That's true. Very well.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, I guess he's like flashing a little bit of a jumper at UNC. I'm a little bit more optimistic than I am with Mitch shooting shots. And again, this is 32, so I don't hate it. I think because of the weight loss and the flashes of the jumper, I think there's a little something there. All right. Is there anybody else that we want to talk about that we haven't talked about? I guess we have to talk about Sharif Cooper, and then I feel like this could be the last guy we want to talk about.
Cool? Cooper, the thing is, I love the passing. I love the competitiveness for a small guy. I'm just not sold on the jumper, man. He has a hitch in it.
It's ugly.
And it takes a while to get off. That's not going to fly with NBA length and defenders running at him. And then if you're talking about going inside, I'm not convinced he can finish. True. For all the court vision in the world, I mean, how are you going to affect the game as a scorer if you're just a non-factor out there? Are we looking at Elfrid again? I mean, and a tiny Elfrid who has no versatility. So
I'm just trying to remember a point guard that played, significant minutes that really couldn't shoot and couldn't finish.
Not in the modern era. Right. There is none. In the old days, you had these players, but nowadays, as a point, you got to be able to shoot. And we killed Elfrid, but at least Elfrid could defend like shooting guards and some small forwards. I mean, Cooper, you're only looking at point guards.
Yeah,
I have one for you, Moo, and his name is Brandon Jennings. He could not shoot. He could not finish. He could pass a little bit.
But okay, he could shoot. He couldn't make.
Jennings could score. I think you guys
dropped 50 before.
I guess I'm thinking of post Achilles.
Here's the thing, though. Brandon Jennings was absolutely crucial to the Bucks championship run because they traded him to Detroit, and Chris Middleton got sent it back as a filler.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. I thought you were going to say he came with the Bucks in 6.
That too. He guaranteed the championship with that.
I mean, that's the thing with Cooper is that maybe he's just a college point guard, like a star college point guard that just can't translate. Right? That's the concern.
Yep.
The scary thing is he's like Fat Joe. He leans back, on his jumper.
Yeah.
That's like you could tell that he's like afraid of the length. That's the only reason why you would do something like that. Like, why would you like go away from the hoop to shoot? It's like silly.
Yeah.
I think he's someone like. You got to have a luxury as far as like draft picks and assets. So if you want to just take a flyer and take a swing on it and see what happens, I think he's that kind of pick. For us, I'm not sure that that's where we are. We need to hit on things. We're not in gamble mode. So I could see like, he's kind of like that classic pick that like the Nuggets do. You know what I mean? They'll just take a flyer on a guy and it always ends up working out for those guys. But for us, I wouldn't go there, but I know we're running short on time. I do think we neglected 3 certified bucket getters, so let me just throw those guys out there before we bounce.
Is one of them Trey Mann? Because I'm
Trey Mann.
Yeah, he's my dude. He's the guy that I want the most.
He's a bucket getter. Ayo Dosunmu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He's a bucket getter, and Cam Thomas. I know people hated that he doesn't pass, and that his defense is questionable, but he might be the 3rd best pure bucket getter in the draft, right after Jalen Green and Book Knight.
Well, what's crazy about Cam Thomas is that like if you look at his like stats in the league, like whoever put the most stats up in the league that like he did, it's like Durant, it's like Markelle Fultz, it's like Cool Beasley, Mrs. Cool Smooth Cool Beasley, and I'm forgetting the fourth one, but it's like it's only been
Top
done by
lottery
like
picks. Yeah, top lottery picks.
a bunch of top lottery picks. So it's like I feel like if you get a good coach, and we have a bunch of good coaches, if you can rein in his shot selection, I think you can. There's some you can polish that turd and get something out of it because it's like he can score. He's a flamethrower, but his shot selection is horrid.
That's the thing.
I'm gonna go old
Yep.
school. He got a little Joe Dumars in his game. You know, the way he can like pull up off the dribble with that jumper. He's not the tallest guy, 6'4", but he's built sturdy. That's what he kind of reminds me of from the old school.
And he hits like crazy fadeaways too, like early with shot clock that are very unnecessary.
That was the original ISO Joe. Joe Dumars was like that.
Yeah, and let me I really like Trey Mann too. I think he's going to be somebody that can create and pick and roll. Whether he's going to be able to do that for 30 minutes, like, and you want him to start, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I mean, he's got crazy floaters. He's got step backs in the mid range. He's got step backs on the perimeter. He can bomb from deep. I mean, could he be Jordan Clarkson? I would take that. You know, like I would consider that. I know we've worked him out, but and we just haven't seemed to be tied to him ever since that workout. But he was the guy that I feel like I would lean to the most because I think he'll give us perimeter creation the best with enough playmaking that it's not going to be a black hole.
Ayo.
He reminds me of Amon Shumpert. That's who he reminds me of the most. Where it's like you could tell that he was like he's a college point guard. I don't think he's going to be able to play point guard in the NBA, and he does a lot of his damage in transition. He does have that pull up jumper, but the 3-point shot is like really ugly. He like kind of like moves forward. Yeah. You know, I feel like if he gets that worked out, he could be solid. Because I like him athletically, he's a blur. But yeah, he reminds me a lot of Shumpert.
So the thing about Ayo is, and I watched a lot of him. When you watch his strengths, you're like, oh my god, this guy is legit. Then you watch his weaknesses, it's like, oh my god, this guy might not even make the league. the big thing is it's his handle. He gets real sloppy sometimes. If he tightens that up, I think he has great potential. If not, like you said, Iman Shumpert.
Yeah, that's the Shumpert. Right, Shumpert's handles are awful.
I was watching a video of Deuce McBride before, and his strengths and weaknesses were like the same thing. I was just like watching him like hit crazy step back jumpers and like all this like elite lockdown defense, and then you got to his weaknesses, and he's just like he gets blocked a lot. He can't get to the rim. I was like, oh god. I was like, how's it this guy going higher after his strengths and then after his weaknesses? I was like, oh okay, now that's why he's at the edge of the first round. Moo, is there anybody else that you want to mention? You want to talk Kai Jones a little bit, or should we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Kai Jones quickly. I think he's the one, right? Other than the obvious guy, Evan Mobley, he's really the only other center that I really like in this draft. That I would actually spend any effort to pick. I'm a big guy, like I said on the board, that if you're looking for a backup, right? Once you get past Mobley and Kai Jones, like maybe in 3 or 4 years, there is no starting centers. So Mitch Robinson is our starting center, unless they do something really weird and get a Miles Turner or somebody, right? Yeah. I think Kai Jones is really he has a game that translates that you can't easily find. I think the rest of these big guys, you can find a backup center that could do the same thing that'll make about the same money. At least their experience, right? So for a team like the Knicks, I think that's fine. So what if they bring back, Taj? I don't think Nerlens is going to come back. He's going to price himself out. Like I said, if they do like Dwight Howard type of a thing, bet minimum, or even if you have to go like $5 million, $4 million for him, that's a better, for where the Knicks at, what they need, somebody that's physical, somebody that can intimidate. You don't need him to be a star. You just need him to be a backup that can play some, minutes if and when Mitch gets injured. So Kai Jones, I love his overall game. He's kind of got that, slim center's body with, guard skills. He didn't start playing basketball until recently. So, that's another possible, had he been playing this for much longer, he'd be much higher and out of reach. If he's available at 19, I'd take him.
You gotta, but he would be your home run swing. because like I can see that going horribly, horribly wrong, like, but like, it's like he's a lob threat. He shot threes. Like he's like one of those guys. It's like you would just watch his highlight tape. You're going to be like, oh my God, like this guy's the greatest thing ever. But yeah, he's shown flashes of shooting threes. He's obviously freakish athletic. He can block shots. And he's shown flashes of attacking closeouts and like Euroing for dunks, like off the dribble. Right. And it's just like, that's what Joel Embiid does, like
it's a unique skill set that it's hard to find. So those are the types of guys you want and to play with.
Well, it's like also after, and I don't know if I'm like just overreacting to how the Hawks played us, but just like being able to soft double off our big, like every time that Randall touched the ball was so huge. Yeah. And that's why I think I like Sengun and Kai Jones it's like, they've shown that they can do something on offense. It's like, you just need to, if you're going to have any sort of center, they need to be able to do something other than just dunk the basketball. So, Coke, any thoughts on Kai Jones? And then we'll wrap up.
I mean, like Moose said, that's the only big that, I want to hear his name connected to the Knicks outside of some crazy shit happening where we get Mobley. But anyone else to me is not worth the conversation. I mean, we've went down this road so many times where we take these raw bigs. That's why guys like Greg Brown, I didn't even bother mentioning, just an athlete, but no ball skills. We need, if we take a big, he needs to have ball skills. And like you guys said, there's really only one other one in the draft. Well, two if you count Sengun. I don't really think those are realistic options, though. I think for us, we're going to hone in on a guard. I think one is going to be high. If we keep our picks, I think one is going to be high upside, and one is going to be an immediate contributor. And like you guys said, let's target the bigs and free agency. And also, I think next year we're going to see a little bit more small ball. That's what I believe. I think that's going to be the next stage in the ascension of his development. I think we're going to see him at the center spot, and we're going to open the floor up with 5 shooters if we can, if you count RJ as a shooter.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to try to play Obi a little bit with Randall.
Yeah, got to. Or trade him.
Trade him. You gotta find a way to get him more than 11 minutes a night.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we've talked about pretty much everybody that could be possibly in our range, and hopefully the Knicks end up with 3, maybe 2 solid young players to go. Which, if you're watching, this is probably going to be the draft is later tonight. But yeah, thanks to Coke, Kyle, and Moo. This is our day before the draft special. This is the No Blood, No Foul podcast. If you like what you heard, please hit your thumbs up button, subscribe. And now that the off season's kind of like hitting the ground running, we're gonna be doing more content. So peace out.
Calls, we took your morale.
Congratulations till we run that clock out. MSG to Mecca, this is our house. NYC forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that clock. Till we run that clock out. MSG Mecca, our house. NYC forever, mob out. Kid trip, Clyde Clout.